Welcome to Heartbreaker, your love radio.
Lawrence and Daniela had been together for 3 years. During that time, they had built a relationship based on trust and companionship, or at least that's what Daniela thought. Recently, Lawrence started mentioning a cousin he had reconnected with after many years without contact. Her name was Emily, and according to Lawrence, she had recently moved to the city. "Daniela, you won't believe it," Lawrence exclaimed one night while they were having dinner. "Remember that second cousin I mentioned? Emily? She moved here, and we're reconnecting. It's been so long since I've seen her. It's like we're getting to know each other all over again." Daniela smiled, trying to hide a slight discomfort. "That's great, Lawrence. I'm happy for you. It's always good to have family around." In the days and weeks that followed, Lawrence started going out with Emily more frequently. He justified his absences by saying he was making up for lost time. Daniela initially accepted the explanation, trying not to be the jealous and controlling girlfriend. After all, she trusted Lawrence. "Are you going out with Emily again tonight?" Daniela asked one evening while Lawrence was getting ready to leave. "Yes, love. She wants to explore more of the city, and I promised I'd take her to some places. I won't be long, I promise." He gave Daniela a quick kiss and left, leaving her alone with a sense of unease. Something didn't feel right, but she pushed those thoughts away, believing she was being unfair. However, Lawrence's outings with Emily began to increase in frequency and duration. Daniela noticed he was more distant, less present during their time together. The excuses became more frequent and less convincing. "Lawrence, can we talk?" Daniela asked one night, trying to stay calm. "Sure, what's up?" he replied, seeming distracted. "I know you're happy to have reconnected with your cousin, but it seems like you're always with her. I feel like we're drifting apart." Lawrence sighed, trying not to sound irritated. "Daniela, it's just that I haven't seen her in so long. I want to make the most of this time to reconnect with her. It's nothing against you. I promise I'll try to balance things better." Despite Lawrence's words, Daniela couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She started to observe Lawrence's behavior more closely, hoping to find some proof to justify her suspicions. But Lawrence was careful, not leaving any obvious clues. One day, while Lawrence was in the shower, Daniela noticed his phone vibrating. It was a message from Emily. Without thinking much, she opened the message and saw a photo of the two of them together, smiling with a caption that read, "Can't wait to see you again tonight." Daniela felt a knot in her stomach but tried to rationalize. Maybe it was just an innocent photo between cousins. However, the frequency and nature of Lawrence's outings with Emily began to weigh more heavily on Daniela's mind. Every time Lawrence mentioned Emily's name, Daniela felt a pang of distrust. She started to question herself, wondering if she was being irrational or if there was something deeper going on. One night, while they were in bed, Daniela couldn't hold back her doubts any longer. "Lawrence, I need to know. Is there something going on between you and Emily that you're not telling me?" Lawrence seemed surprised by the question, but kept his composure. "Daniela, of course not. She's my cousin. You're being paranoid." Weeks passed, and the situation didn't improve. Lawrence continued to spend a lot of time with Emily, and Daniela felt increasingly isolated. She started to notice small changes in Lawrence's behavior. He was more protective of his phone, avoiding leaving it in plain sight. His excuses for going out became more elaborate. Daniela knew something was wrong, but she had no concrete proof. One night, Daniela decided she needed to find out the truth. She waited for Lawrence to fall asleep and took his phone, looking for anything that would confirm her suspicions. That's when she found an online album, forgotten by Lawrence, without privacy settings. The photos she saw confirmed her worst fears. What Daniela saw left her paralyzed. The photos were explicit and undeniable. Lawrence and Emily were in various intimate poses, exchanging passionate looks and caresses that made it clear their relationship was much more than just familial friendship. The first image showed Lawrence and Emily at a restaurant, toasting with wine glasses, their faces too close to be just cousins. In another photo, they were in a park, laughing and holding hands. But it was the last photo that left Daniela breathless, Lawrence and Emily kissing passionately, with no concern about being seen. She felt a wave of shock and pain, and tears began to roll down her face. The betrayal was evident, and Lawrence's excuse about Emily being a newly reconnected cousin crumbled in the face of irrefutable evidence. The next day, the atmosphere was heavy with tension. Daniela, still in shock from the compromising photos she had found the night before, anxiously awaited Lawrence's arrival. Every second felt like an eternity as she replayed the images of Lawrence and Emily in intimate situations, scenes that tore at her soul with unbearable pain. When the door finally opened, Lawrence walked in, oblivious to the storm awaiting him. "Lawrence, we need to talk," Daniela said, her voice trembling despite her effort to keep it steady. Lawrence frowned, noticing the seriousness on Daniela's face. He set his keys on the table and approached, trying to appear calm. "Sure, love. What's wrong?" Daniela took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I saw the photos, Lawrence. The photos of you and Emily." Lawrence's face instantly lost its color. He tried to speak, but the words seemed stuck. After a moment of awkward silence, he finally muttered, "Photos? What photos?" Daniela had no patience for games. She grabbed her phone and showed Lawrence the images she had found. "These photos, Lawrence. The ones you forgot to make private in your online album." Lawrence looked at the photos, his face alternating between fear and shame. He knew there was no denying it. "Daniela, I can explain." "Explain what, Lawrence?" Daniela interrupted, her voice now louder and filled with pain. "You lied to me. You said Emily was your cousin, but clearly she isn't. What's going on?" Lawrence ran a hand through his hair, nervous. I lied, yes. Emily is not my cousin. She's just a friend." Daniela let out a bitter laugh. "A friend? A friend you clearly have an affair with." Lawrence tried to get closer, but Daniela took a step back. "Daniela, please listen to me. I know I messed up, but it's not what you think." Daniela crossed her arms, waiting for him to continue. "Then tell me, Lawrence. What is it? Because all I see is betrayal and lies." Lawrence sighed, defeated. "Emily and I started hanging out as friends, but things got out of control. I didn't want to hurt you, Daniela." "Issuire." Daniela felt a wave of anger. "You didn't want to hurt me? Lying to me, cheating on me, that's not wanting to hurt me? How can you be so selfish?" Lawrence tried to defend himself, but his words only made things worse. "I was confused, Daniela. Our relationship was going through a tough time and I sought comfort elsewhere." Daniela felt her heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. "So instead of trying to fix our problems, you decided to cheat on me? That's unforgivable, Lawrence." Lawrence shook his head, desperate. "I know I was wrong. I'm sorry, Daniela. Please, give me a chance to make it right." Daniela looked at Lawrence, her eyes filled with tears. "How do you expect me to trust you again? You lied about everything. Every moment with you now feels like a lie." Lawrence tried to hold Daniela's hand, but she pulled away. "Daniela, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. I don't want to lose you." Daniela took a deep breath, trying to control her emotions. "Lawrence, you've already lost me. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and you destroyed it." Lawrence was about to respond when Daniela raised her hand, stopping him. "I need some time to think. I need space. Please leave." Lawrence looked at Daniela, realizing the gravity of his actions. He knew he had made a terrible mistake, but he wasn't ready to give up. Okay, I'll leave. But please, Daniela, let me try to fix this. Daniela didn't respond. She just turned and went to the bedroom, leaving Lawrence alone in the living room, reflecting on the magnitude of his lies and betrayals. As Lawrence left the apartment, Daniela threw herself on the bed, feeling the weight of betrayal and pain consuming her. Tears flowed freely down her face, mingling with frustration and anger. She knew her life would never be the same. Lawrence's confession had broken something inside her that might never be repaired. In an attempt to find some solace, Daniela called Carla, her best friend. Carla had always been an unwavering source of support, and Daniela knew she needed to vent to someone who understood. "Carla, I need you," Daniela said, her voice broken by sobs. "I'm on my way," Carla replied immediately, without asking questions. When Carla arrived, she found Daniela in a state of deep despair. She hugged her tightly, allowing Daniela to cry on her shoulder. "I can't believe he did this to me, Carla. He destroyed everything." Carla stroked Daniela's hair, trying to comfort her. "I know, sweetie. He's an idiot. You don't deserve this." Daniela pulled back a little, wiping her tears. "I feel so lost. How could he lie so blatantly? And how was I so naive to believe him?" Carla looked into Daniela's eyes, her expression serious. "You trusted him because you believed in your love. It's not your fault, Daniela. The blame is all his." On the same day Daniela discovered Lawrence's betrayal, she received news that shook her even further. Her phone rang, and on the other end, her mother's trembling voice delivered the devastating news. "Daniela, it's your mother. I have very sad news. Your grandfather passed away." These words echoed in Daniela's mind, each syllable piercing deeply into her being. Daniela's grandfather wasn't just a relative, he was her mentor, her confidant, a pillar of strength and wisdom. He had been a constant and comforting presence in her life, always ready to offer wise counsel or a warm hug. "No. It can't be," Daniela whispered, feeling the tears start to stream down her face. "I was talking to him just a few days ago. He seemed so well." "I know, dear. It was very sudden. His heart, it just stopped," her mother replied, her voice also choked with emotion. The shock of the news made Daniela feel as if she were being pulled into an endless abyss. She could barely breathe, and the room around her seemed to spin. Lawrence's betrayal and her grandfather's loss intertwined in a web of pain that threatened to suffocate her. "I'm here, Daniela. I'm here," Carla repeated, trying to offer some comfort. Daniela sobbed in Carla's arms, feeling like a lost child. "He's gone, Carla. My grandfather is gone. And Lawrence. Lawrence betrayed me. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this." Carla held Daniela's face, looking into her eyes. "You will get through this, Daniela. I know it seems impossible now, but you are strong. And I'm here to help you through it." The following days were a blur of pain and sorrow. Daniela had to deal with the arrangements for her grandfather's funeral, a task that felt unbearably difficult. Every time she looked at a photo of him or heard his voice in her mind, her heart broke a little more. Daniela had always had a complicated relationship with her mother, Clara, which had always created a tense atmosphere at family gatherings. With her grandfather's death, this tension intensified even more. During the wake, which was held at Daniela's aunt's house, sparks began to fly. "You were always Daddy's little girl, Clara. And look where it got you, he barely mentioned you in the last few years," said Margarita, Clara's sister, with an accusatory tone. Clara, with tears in her eyes and an expression of pain and anger, responded, "You don't understand anything. I always did everything to please him, but he never acknowledged it. And now, you want to blame me for everything." Daniela, hearing the argument, felt the pressure mounting on her shoulders. She knew she needed to intervene before the situation got out of control. She took a deep breath and approached the two. "Aunt Margarita, Mom, please, this is not the time for this. We're all grieving Grandpa's loss. We need to support each other, not fight, said Daniela, trying to stay calm. Margarita huffed but stepped back, muttering something about their father's preferences. Clara looked at Daniela, her face softening a little, but still carrying the pain of loss and her sister's words. I know you're right, Daniela. But it's hard. All my life, I felt like I was competing for his love and approval, Clara confessed, her voice trembling. Daniela hugged her mother, feeling her fragility. I know, Mom. We'll get through this together. Grandpa wanted us to be united, not fighting. However, this was just the tip of the iceberg of family tensions. During the reading of her grandfather's will, more conflicts arose. The family's lawyer, Mr. Rodriguez, began to read the deceased's wishes, and it soon became clear that he had left the majority of his assets to Daniela, which generated murmurs of discontent among those present. This is absurd. I always knew he favored Daniela, but this is too much, exclaimed Marcos, Daniela's oldest cousin, his hands clenched into fists. Marcos, I didn't ask for this. I didn't even know, responded Daniela, trying to calm the situation. Of course you didn't know. You were always his favorite granddaughter, he retorted, his tone sarcastic. The tension in the room became palpable. Daniela realized that dealing with this situation wouldn't be easy. She was in the eye of the storm, trying to find a balance between the pain of loss and the need to keep peace in the family. Later that same night, Daniela and Carla were in the kitchen of her aunt's house, talking about the day's events. Carla, always the loyal and sensible friend, offered her support. I knew it would be hard, but I didn't expect it to be this complicated, said Daniela, running her hand through her hair, exhausted. Family is always complicated, especially in times of loss. But you're handling it well, Daniela. You're strong, said Carla, placing a comforting hand on her friend's shoulder. Thanks, Carla. I don't know what I'd do without you. But I feel like things are only going to get worse. There's so much resentment and so many secrets, Daniela confessed, her voice full of concern. You have more people by your side than you realize, replied Carla with an encouraging smile. After the funeral, Daniela returned home. Carla and Daniela sat together on the couch, silent for a while until Daniela finally began to speak. I feel like I've lost everything, Carla. Lawrence betrayed me, and now I've lost my grandfather. How am I supposed to move on? He was everything to me. My grandfather taught me what it means to be strong, to be brave. He showed me how to love unconditionally and live with integrity. Carla held Daniela's hand, offering the silent support she knew her friend needed. You haven't lost everything, Daniela. You still have me, and you still have yourself. Your grandfather taught you to be strong, and you'll find that strength within you. Have you thought about what your grandfather would say if he were here now? Carla asked. Daniela sighed, closing her eyes for a moment. He would tell me to be strong, not to let the pain define me. He always told me that life is full of challenges, but that each one is an opportunity to grow. Then maybe it's time to start living by that, Carla suggested gently. I know it's hard, but you have to find a way to move forward. Not for Lawrence, not for anyone else, but for you and your grandfather. Those words resonated deeply with Daniela. She knew Carla was right. Her grandfather had always encouraged her to be resilient, to face life's challenges head-on. And now, more than ever, she needed to find that strength within herself. Lawrence had tried to reconcile with Daniela multiple times since the discovery of his betrayal. However, his attempts were always awkward and insincere, filled with weak excuses and empty promises. Daniela, initially still in a state of shock and vulnerability, gradually found strength and clarity, thanks to Carla's unconditional support and Mark's comforting presence. It was a sunny afternoon when Lawrence decided to make another attempt at reconciliation. He didn't announce his visit, he just showed up at Daniela's door with a bouquet of flowers and an expression that tried to appear remorseful, but which Daniela now saw as pure manipulation. Daniela, please, we need to talk, Lawrence said, holding the flowers in his right hand while trying to look sincere. Daniela took a deep breath. She knew this moment would come and felt prepared. Mark had given her valuable advice on how to handle the situation, and Carla had bolstered her confidence. She opened the door, not to invite him in, but to let him know she was willing to listen, but on her own terms. "Lawrence, we have nothing more to talk about," Daniela replied firmly. "You had every opportunity to be honest and respect our relationship, but you chose to lie and cheat." Lawrence seemed surprised by Daniela's determination. He had expected to find someone fragile and vulnerable, but instead faced a strong and resolute woman. "I know I messed up, Daniela. But I love you and want to fix everything," Lawrence insisted, trying to get closer. Daniela stepped back a little, keeping the door slightly ajar as a symbolic barrier. "Lawrence, you have no idea what love is. If you did, you would never have done what you did. You toyed with my feelings and disrespected me in every possible way." Lawrence tried to argue, but Daniela cut him off. "No, now it's my turn to speak. Since the moment I met Mark, I realized I deserve much more than someone who cheats and lies. I will no longer accept your empty apologies. From now on, my life continues without you." Lawrence stood in silence, absorbing Daniela's words. He realized his attempts at manipulation would no longer work. "Daniela, please give me one last chance. I can change." "No, Lawrence. You've had many chances. And I've given you much more than you deserved. It's time for you to face the consequences of your actions," Daniela concluded, closing the door firmly. Lawrence stood still for a few seconds, processing the final rejection. He knew he had lost Daniela forever. Inside the house, Daniela felt a wave of relief and liberation. She had finally shed the weight of a toxic relationship and was ready to move forward with her life. Carla and Mark, who had watched the scene from a distance, approached to comfort her. "You were incredible, Daniela," Carla said, hugging her friend. "Thank you, Carla," Daniela replied, feeling stronger than ever. "I couldn't have done it without you and Mark." Mark smiled and placed his hand on Daniela's shoulder. "We're here for you, always. And now, it's time to think about your future and everything you can still achieve." Daniela's determination was palpable. She knew a new chapter was beginning in her life, and she was ready to embrace it with all her strength.